Last week, well, on Sunday in fact, I was playing with John, who's probably coming, and lots of the other people there. They were struggling with takeout doubles as a concept, and the problem with that is that takeout doubles are absolutely critical in order to bid your hand successfully in competitive auctions. They are, just very fundamental. Is that actually running at the moment?
I can't see.
Should be at the bottom.
It looks like it's running, yeah, because it's the start button.
So I guess we started. So the idea of a double, which we did kind of briefly go through in the beginning essence, is a takeout double is a double that asks partner to make a bid. So in principle, we think of it as one round forcing, which is not necessarily always one round forcing, but in principle, forcing for one round and asks partner to bid longest suit. Bid longest suit. Right, so that's the idea of what it actually means. So what sort of hands are we actually looking to double on? So if you remember from the beginner lessons, we talked about overcalling when you have a 5-card suit, right? So one heart from the opponent, if you bid one spade, that shows 5 of them, right? So a takeout double is the kind of hand when you don't have that. When you generally don't have a 5-card suit, certainly unlikely to have a 5-card major, but you have 4 cards in the other major typically, and at least 3 cards in every minor. Takeout doubles tend to be either balanced hands or 4-1-1 is that's an ideal takeout double, without long suits of their own, but probably short in the opponent's suit, so a doubleton or a singleton in the opponent's suit, and a kind of tolerance for all the other suits. It's essentially saying, partner, I've got tolerance for every other suit apart from the opponent's suit. Pick one. That's the principle. When we talk about what sort of hands we want to do these on, so we said ideally 4-1-1. So we're talking about if I just put ideally here, because doubles are one of these bids which is a little bit more flexible in terms of meaning. It's a little bit less clear cut because it kind of captures a lot of hands together. A lot of hands that couldn't make another call but wanted to make a call. But typically we're looking for things, ideally, certainly most takeout doubles are not 4-4-4-1. But if we understand the concept of why 4-4-4-1 is ideal, that probably will help us to understand why takeout doubles are so critical. So if you're 4-4-4-1 and you've got a singleton in the suit the opponent's bid, double is brilliant because you double to say, I'm short in their suit and I've got tolerance for all the other suits, which is completely true. You've got shortage in their suit and you've got tolerance for all the other suits. So, but you're also going to include lots of shapes such as 4-4-3-2, 5-4-3-1, and 4-4-5-0. These sorts of shapes, they're typically what you would expect when partner makes a double. 3-suited, so tolerance for 3 suit, not the suit opened, and generally that's what we're looking for. No suit of their own that they want to bid necessarily. Right, so what else? What are we looking for in terms of points? Well, points-wise, just as if you remember, we're going through overcalls at the beginning, and we said, well, the strength of an overcall varies depending on how good your suit is. We said, if you have ace-king to 5, that's good enough to make an overcall with just 7 points. But if your suit was, say, jack to 5, much worse, you were looking at more 10 or 11 points before you can start making an overcall, right? So the same kind of works for doubles. They are a little bit stronger than overcalls. So typically, if you've got an ideal shape, sort of this one, this shape, or this shape, those are more ideal because they're unbalanced. I suppose another shape you might have is 4-3-3, but these ones are ideal. You're looking at maybe 11 plus points in order to take out double. So it's sort of like an opening bid. It's an opening bid, perhaps a shade lighter, just because you want to try and get in there when the opponents are bidding. But typically, if you think of it as an opening bid, if you would open the bidding, then your hand is perhaps probably strong enough for a double. Whereas if you've got one of these shapes, 4-4-3-2 or 4-3-3, these are less good. So you're looking at probably more 12 or 13 plus. I'm going to change this. I'm going to change this to 10 plus. This is intermittent fire alarm, so you don't need to evacuate. It's fine. They're going to love that online, aren't they? Right. So, do we have any more questions about? This is the ideal kind of hand for a takeout double. So, questions about what the takeout double means, as in what it shows, or questions about what partners meant to do. I suppose typically facing a double, although we actually do cover that a lot more. Are there any questions on this bit so far? No. Cool, that's all good. Right. So, we're going to talk about other hand types that you might include in a double, and that's because you can't bid anything else with them. So this is your ideal prototypical double, but you do have other hand types that you have to throw in there because you can't do anything else with them. So, for example, the double is typically used for very strong hands, where if you overcalled simply at the one level, you'd be in danger of partner passing when you have game on. And typically for that, we're looking at 18 plus points. So this is strong option. So if the opponent's open one club and I've got 5 spades, I typically look to bid a spade, but if my hand is so strong, 18 or more points, that I'm worried that partner will just pass my spade and we will miss a game, then I will double first and then bid spades, and that shows a very strong hand with spades. So if they're bid a club from them, I double, they bid a pass, a heart, pass. If I now bid a spade, that's showing 18 plus points for spades, right? So typically you'll see, if you have this ideal takeout double kind of hand, you'll always be passing partner's bid when he makes a bid. Whereas if you have the strong option, you'll be taking another bid. This is how we distinguish between them. So if you double with 4-1-1, 13 count, and partner bids one of your 4 card suits, you shouldn't raise him, because that would be showing a much stronger hand if you are to raise him. If you were to raise him, you would be showing a stronger option, and that's not really what you have or what you want to show. Right, so strong option 18 plus points or 19 plus val. So this is unval and val. Right. So does anybody remember what the strength of a one-note trump overcall is? If when you overcall a one-level opening,
12 to 14.
That would be a little bit too weak. If the opponents open one club or whatever, they say, well, we've got 12 points. Typically, you want to be stronger in this position because the chances of the opponent's penalty doubling your no trump is extremely high. If they've shown 12 points over here, not only does it increase the chances of the opponents having more points than you in partner, but it also increases the chances they'll find a penalty double. Because we've got 12 points over here, one no trump. This hand over here can now, instead of having, conversely, if you look at it, if you open one no trump 15-17, this hand here now needs sort of 17 points in order to make a penalty double. Whereas if it goes one club, one no trump, they only need 8 points to make a penalty double. It's a lot easier to find because they've already seen their partner shown 12. So we'll go back to the question. What do we think one no trump over one club shows typically?
7 or 9 plus.
Sorry?
7 or 9 plus.
One no trump overcall over one club. When they've opened a club and we're overcalling a no trump for the first action.
Is it like a regular one no trump opening?
Similar, yeah, exactly. It's typically we say it's 15-18, and the reason for that is because it needs to be a little bit stronger because they've opened the bidding and we're more likely to get a penalty double. So typically, when you overcall a no trump, so we'll go in a balanced section over here. Right. So less than 11 points. If you've got got fewer than 11 points, you're going to pass because you're not strong enough to make a takeout double. If you've got 12 to a bad 15 points, typically you're going to either double or pass. So and the decision on whether you double or pass is dependent on your shape. So for example, if you had 2 spades, 3 hearts, 4 diamonds and 4 clubs and a 14 count and they opened a club, you can't really double on this hand because you have your major suits are 2, 3, partner's probably just going to bid spades and just completely misjudge the hand, because typically when we double we would like to have length in the majors because those are the spots we're trying to look for. When we double one club, we implicitly saying we're 4-3 in the majors, certainly no less than 3 cards in each major, and so we really don't want to stray from that rule, even if we do have up to a bad 15 points. We really don't want to stray from that rule and double on off shape because partner will just pick the wrong strain and we're not really strong enough in order to take another bid afterwards. Hi guys. Right, so 12 to 14 or bad 15, we're looking at double or pass. Everybody clear with that? So double if you're a suitable shape and you've got length in unbid majors, or pass if you just don't have that. Right. Then we've got 15, bad 15, to 18, and we're going to overcall one no trump. So that's what we were talking about here. And then finally, we've got this hand here, the 19 plus val, finally. And we're going to, this is terrible writing, double and bid. Perfect for the online community. We're going to double and bid no trumps with 19 plus val because we're just too strong. Right, so, summary. Typical takeout double shapes, when you have length, typically in the unbid majors. So let me just stress this point one more time. If the opponents open a heart and partner doubles, we can almost be certain he has 4 spades. There will be time he doesn't, if he's a strong option, or if he might be a 14 count or 13 count with 3 spades. But he certainly won't be, a 12 count, an 11 count without 4 spades. This is just not something he'll have. He would prefer to pass these hands. If he's got a worse shape but more points, it's kind of compensating values for the fact he doesn't have another spade. But typically, we're looking at, he's showing 4 spades here. So if we just guess what his shape is much more likely to be 4-2, 3-4, or 4-2, 4-3, than it is to be 3-2, 4-3. That's much less, or 3-2, 4-4, sorry. That shape is much less likely because he would much rather have 1 card less in one of the unbid minors than a card less in one of the unbid majors. And that's simply because we're always going to be bidding our majors in preference to our minors if we have a choice. If I've got 4 spades and 4 diamonds and partner makes double, I'm just going to bid spades. If I've got 4 spades and 5 diamonds, I'm going to bid spades. So we're really looking at these doubles as major suit orientated, but not 5 cards. So we're looking precisely 4 cards in the major suits normally. Though, as I was saying, they're a bit of a shaded definition. The more points you have, the more off shape you can be. The fewer points you have, the more close to the ideal distribution you have to be. Right? Makes sense? Right. So we have the ideal type of takeout double, prototypical type. Then we have strong options, which are 18 plus unbal or 19 plus bal. Typically, you'll make the double, partner will bid anything, and then you make another bid, and that's showing. If you take another bid, you're showing a strong option. If you, we'll write up some of the strong options as an example very soon, so we can show you what type of other bids you will have in that position. It's not a very common sequence, but it's quite simple to bid. And this is just a short little explanation about balanced hands, because 12 to 14 balance, in fact, even though we would open the bidding with it, we're now passing at the opponents have opened. Whereas conversely, a 7 count with ace king to 5 spades, we wouldn't have opened the bidding, but now we are bidding because the opponents have bid. The kind of objectives of the bidding change slightly. So, and that's because in competitive sequences, we're not so concerned about point counts. We're trying to get across our shape when it's necessary that we compete to the part score. When you have balanced hands, without 4 in the other major, it really isn't necessary that you start competing for these part scores, just because you're likely to take a better score in defence because your hand shape doesn't play so well, especially at defending, etc., etc. Okay, shall we just drop some of these off? Right, let's look at this strong option a little bit more. Oops. There you go, everyone can read it now. Right, so let's just go straight forward and take an example. Opponents opened 1 club, we double, they pass, partner bids 1 heart. And they pass again, and it's back to us. So, we have a strong option, so we're either going to be 18 plus unbalanced or 19 plus balanced. So, we'll just go straight in there and look at the balanced options. Here we can bid 1 no trump, 2 no trumps, 3 no trumps, but 3 no trumps are starting to get a little bit ridiculous in terms of frequency. It's just not going to happen. But if you look at this, 1 no trump, we're typically saying just the next range up, 19 to 21, and 2 no trumps, you're looking at kind of 22, 23. Those kind of ranges. Quite simple. The one no trump is a 3-point range normally. 3-point range meaning 15, 16, and 17 is a 3-point range. So it's a 3-point range here as well. That's how this system can cope with a 3-point range very easily. The invites make sense. So very simple. Just remember it's the same width as a 1 no trump opening, but it's just stronger here because we would have overcalled a no trump with 15 to 18 points initially. So that kind of makes sense. 2 no trumps. Yeah, just the next one up. Makes sense? Is it logical? Bidding higher with 1 point seems logical. Now, if we look at unbalanced hands, we're going to make essentially a 2-part distinction here further. We have hands which aren't strong enough to gain force, so they're typically 18 to 21 points. So not gain forcing. And we have hands that are strong enough to gain force, 22 plus points. So this is admittedly extremely rare, though generally there will be times where you have to do it with a lower point count as well, with a very good shape. In fact, we're looking at an example of one of those later. But essentially, if you don't want partner to pass before game, then you're in this section, and if you are happy with partner passing with an absolute pile of rubbish before game, then you're in this section. And this distinction is simple again. So this is simple rebid. And this is jump rebid. So in this example, if we had 18 points and 5 spades, our rebid is, in this example,
one spade.
1 spade, simple rebid, and if we have 25 points, our rebid is?
It's 2 spades.
2 spades. And is partner going to pass 2 spades? If he's got a void spade and 0 points? No. He shouldn't. He shouldn't pass 2 spades because it's game forcing. Right. He might pass it, but then if you get a bad score, you then blame partner afterwards, and that's what we do. So, any questions about the strong option? So it's quite simple, but great to know if you do pick up this, like, oh my god, I've got a monster, what the hell do I do? And then you bid a suit, and then partner passes it, and you're like, oh, okay, terrible. Right. Got it for the strong options, right? Got it for the weak options. So conversely, a 1 level overcall is limited to around 17 points. So if we bet a spade, we're limited to 17. And if we double and then pass, we're not going to have one of these strong options, I guess. We're going to be limited to around 16, 17 as well. Okay.